Look, if you're watching this right now and you're anywhere between 16 and 25 years old, I'm about to give you the exact financial blueprint that could literally change your entire life trajectory. And here's the thing, this isn't some generic save your money advice that your parents gave you, but what I'm about to show you is the actual psychological framework behind building wealth that took me years to figure out. Plus, the one thing that my mom did right that set me up for massive success. Because there's one move that my mom made when I was 15 years old that literally saved me tens of thousands of dollars by the time I was 22. And I'm going to show you exactly how to replicate it. Number one, get a credit card. All right, so the second that you turn 18, and I mean literally the day of your birthday, forget the cake, forget the presents, just kidding. But you need to go get yourself a credit card. Now I know what you're thinking. Wait, aren't credit cards dangerous? Don't they get people into debt? And yeah, they absolutely can. But here's what most people don't understand about credit cards. They're not about debt. They're about playing the system. And my mom understood this better than anyone. She was basically a financial genius. So when I was 15 years old, my mom did something that most parents don't ever think about. She added me as an authorized user on her credit card. Now, she didn't give me the card. I never used it. I didn't even know where it was. But by adding me as an authorized user, her perfect payment history started showing up on my credit report. Therefore, by the time I was 18, I had already had 3 years of credit history. And here's where this really paid off. When I was 22 years old, I decided I want to buy my first house. I walked into the bank, applied for a mortgage, and you know what happened? I got approved immediately. My credit score was in the 760s. The loan officer looked at me and was like, how does a 22-year-old have a credit score like this? And it was all because of that one decision my mom made when I was 15. But here's the thing. Most of you watching this probably don't have a parent who did that for you. So now what? You start building credit from the second that you turn 18 because every single month matters. Because every month you wait is another month of credit history you're missing out on. So here's exactly what you do. Step one, go to Discover's website and apply for their secured credit card. You put down maybe $200 as a deposit and that becomes your credit line. Step two, put one small reoccurring charge on it every single month. Maybe your Spotify subscription, maybe Netflix, something tiny. Step three, set up auto pay so it gets paid off in full every single month. You're not using this credit card to buy stuff you can't afford. You're using it to build that credit history. So in 5 years, when you want to go buy a house or start a business, you're going to have that 700 plus credit score, and that's going to save you thousands of dollars in interest. But here's the pro move. If you have a parent or a family member with excellent credit, ask them to add you as an authorized user on their oldest credit card. They don't even have to give you the card. This is completely legal, and it's one of the fastest ways to build credit history. That's literally what my mom did for me, and it gave me a 7-year head start on everyone else my age. All right, move number two. This is simple but critical. The second you turn 18, you need to open a bank account that is solely in your name, not a joint account with your parents. Your account. Now, look, I'm not saying that your parents are bad with money, but this is about you learning to be financially independent as an adult. And you can't learn to manage money if somebody else has access to it. But here's where most people mess this up. They go to a traditional bank and they get hit with all of these ridiculous fees. I've seen people pay $40 just to order checks. $40 for pieces of paper. Therefore, you want to go with either an online bank or a bank that waives those fees for young people. For online banks, I personally use Ally. They're completely free, no minimums, and they actually pay you a decent interest on your savings, currently around 1.9%. If you want a physical bank, you can walk into Bank of America, waives all fees if you're under 25 and a student. After 25, just keep $1,500 in your account and everything stays free. The point is this, having your own account teaches you how to track your money, manage expenses, and build that financial independence muscle. And trust me, that muscle is going to serve you for the rest of your life. When I bought my first house at 22, one of the things the bank looked at was my banking history. They wanted to see that I could manage my own money responsibly. And because I had my own account that I had been managing for years, that was easy to prove. Okay, so this next one is probably the most important thing that I'm going to tell you in this entire video. So if you're scrolling right now, stop and pay attention. You need to open a Roth IRA. Now, when I was 18, I had heard about Roth IRAs, but I didn't really understand them. It wasn't until I started seriously looking at my financial future that I realized that this is literally the closest thing to a cheat code that exists in the financial system. So let me break it down in the simplest way possible. A Roth IRA is a retirement account where you put money in that you've already paid taxes on. Then that money grows and grows and grows. And when you're 59 and a half years old, you can take out all of that money, including the profit, completely tax-free. Now, here's why this is so powerful when you're young. But first, let me show you the math, because the math is going to blow your mind. Let's say that you invest $5,000 at age 30 with an 8% return. By the time you're 60, that $5,000 will have grown to about $50,000. But if you invest that same $5,000 at 18 instead, by age 60, it's worth over $150,000. $226,000. That's the power of compounding interest. Your money makes money, and then that money makes more money. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill, getting bigger and bigger. Therefore, the earlier you start, the more insane your returns become. And here's the other reason this is perfect for young people. Right now, you're probably not making a ton of money, which means you're not paying a lot in taxes. So putting money into a Roth IRA now, when your tax rate is low, is way smarter than waiting till you're 35 and in a higher tax bracket. Go to Vanguard or Fidelity's website, open a Roth IRA. It takes literally 15 minutes. Then invest in a simple index fund like VT-Sax or a target date retirement fund. You can contribute up to $7,000 per year. Even if you only do $50 a month right now, that's just fine. Just start. Because here's the thing. If you start by investing just $100 a month at age 18, by the time you're 60, you'll have $400,000. And that's assuming you never even increase your contributions. When I bought my house at 22, I was already contributing to my Roth IRA. And even though I couldn't touch that money for the down payment, knowing that I had that retirement account growing in the background gave me so much confidence about my financial future. This is truly the closest thing to a financial cheat code that exists. All right, move number 4. And this one's going to save you from making the biggest financial mistake most people make. Stay away from consumer debt. Now, when I say consumer debt, I'm talking about high interest credit card debt, personal loans, car loans, basically any debt that's not making you money. If you're taking out a loan to buy a rental property that's going to generate income, that's good debt. If you're taking out a loan to start a business, that can be good debt. But if you're financing a new car because you want to look cool, that's bad debt. And if you're putting a vacation on a credit card that you can't pay off, that's also bad debt. And here's why this matters. The average credit card interest rate right now is around 22%. That means if you have $5,000 in credit card debt and you're only making minimum payments, you're going to end up paying over $8,000 total. That $3,000 could have been invested. That $3,000 could have been growing. That could have been making you money instead of making the credit card company money. Therefore, here's my rule. If you can't afford to buy something outright in cash, you can't afford it. Period. Now, obviously, there are exceptions. Real estate, business investments, education, these can be worth taking on debt because they have potential to increase your earning power. And this is exactly why having good credit matters so much. When I went to buy my house at 22, because I had that 760 plus credit score, I got an interest rate that was almost full percentage point lower than what my friends were getting. On a $300,000 mortgage, that 1% point difference saves you over $30,000 over the lifespan of the loan. That's the power of good credit. But for everything else, if you don't have the cash, you don't buy it. And here's the smart way to use credit cards. Put your purchases on the card to get the full points and build credit, but then pay it off in full before the due date. That way you're getting all the benefits of the credit cards, the points, the cash back, the credit building without ever paying a cent in interest. That's exactly what my mom taught me. Use credit cards strategically, but never carry a balance. Okay, move number 5. And I know this sounds something like your parents would say, but hear me out. If you're a teenager watching this right now, go get a job. Now, I'm not saying you need to work 40 hours a week. Even just a few hours after school or on the weekends is enough. But here's why this is so critical. And it's not just about the money. When I was in high school, I worked at a pizza shop and a surf shop. I actually started when I was 14 and my parents would drive me there after school and on weekends. I worked as much as I could. And honestly, I would rather be there than hanging out with my friends because I was learning. I was around actual working adults. I was seeing how a business was operated. I was learning about customer service, about showing up on time, about taking responsibility. Therefore, the skills that you learn from working as a teenager are worth way more than the money that you make. You learn work ethic. You learn how to communicate with adults. You learn how to manage your time. You learn what it feels like to earn your own money. And here's the thing. When I started my first business in college, I had already had work experience. I already knew how to show up professionally. I already understood the value of money because I had already earned it myself. But most of my peers didn't have that. They were starting from scratch. Plus, here's the power move. If you're already making money as a teenager, you can start funding that Roth IRA we were talking about earlier, which means you're getting an even bigger head start on compounding interest. And you can start building your own savings for a down payment on a house. That's what I did. By the time I was 22 and ready to buy a house, I had been saving money from my jobs for years. That gave me the down payment I needed without asking my parents for help. So even if you're just working at Starbucks or mowing lawns or babysitting, you're building skills and capital that are going to serve you for decades. All right, move number 6. And this is one that's going to separate you from 99% of people. You need to get comfortable living below your means. Now, I know this doesn't sound sexy. I know you see people on Instagram with cars and watches and designer clothes, and I know it's tempting to want that lifestyle. But here's what nobody tells you about those people. Most of them are broke. They're spending every dollar trying to make themselves look wealthy instead of actually building wealth. Therefore, if you actually want to be rich, not just look rich, You need to flip the script. When I was saving up to buy my first house, I lived like I was broke even when I was making decent money. I drove a used car. I didn't buy expensive clothes. I didn't go out to fancy restaurants every weekend. And because of that, by the time I was 22, I had enough money saved up for a down payment on a house. While my friends were still renting and spending their money going out, I was actually building equity. Now, I'm not saying that you need to live like a monk. I'm not saying never enjoy your money. But what I am saying is this. In your 20s, you have a unique opportunity. You probably don't have a mortgage yet. You might not have kids. Your expenses are relatively low. This is the time to save aggressively. This is the time to invest heavily. And this is the time to build that foundation. Because if you can save 50 to 70% of your income in your 20s, you're going to be so much farther ahead in your 30s that you'll have options that most people don't have. You'll be able to buy a house young like I did. You'll be able to take risks. You'll be able to start businesses. You'll have freedom. And here's a psychological trick that makes this easier. Don't think of it as deprivation. Think of it as buying your future freedom. Every dollar you save now is working for you in the future. Every dollar you invest now is buying you time and options later. When I got the keys to my house at 22, all of those years of living below my means suddenly made sense. While my friends were still paying rent to landlords, I was building equity in my own property. I held that property for just a year and ended up flipping it and made $15,000. And that is the power of delayed gratification. Okay, move number 7. This one's controversial, but I'm going to say it anyways. Don't go to college just because everyone else is going to college. Now, before you freak out, let me be clear. I am not anti-college. If you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, yeah, you need to go to college. But if you're going to college because your parents told you to, or because you don't know what else to do, or because that's just what you do after high school, that's a terrible reason. Because here's what happens. You spend 4 years and $100,000 plus studying something that you're not even sure you care about. Then you graduate with $30,000 in debt and you can't even find a job in your field. Now you're 22 years old, you're broke, you're in debt, and you're 4 years behind where you could have been if you just started working or learning a skill. Therefore, here's what I recommend instead. If you don't know what you want to do, take a gap year instead. Get a job. Gain some real world experience. Figure out what you actually enjoy doing. I actually did this myself. I graduated high school in 3 years. I took a gap year. And by the end of that gap year, I had so much more clarity on what I wanted from life and what I wanted my life to look like, what I liked, what I didn't like. Figure out what you actually enjoy doing. Or go to community college for 2 years and get your general education requirements done for a fraction of the cost. Then transfer to a 4-year school if you decide you need to. You can literally save $50,000 plus by doing your first 2 years at community college. But here's the other option that nobody talks about. Learn a high income skill. Learn sales, digital marketing, plumbing, electrical. All of these skills can make you 6 figures plus. And you can learn them without spending $100,000 plus on a degree. Now, I was very fortunate and my parents paid for my college, so I graduated without debt. But if you're not in that same boat and you're watching this and you're not sure about college, give yourself permission to explore other options. You're not a failure if you don't go to college. You're just choosing a different path. And sometimes that different path gets you wealth a lot faster. All right, final move. And this is where everything comes together. You need to learn how to invest your money. Now, when I say invest, I'm not talking about day trading or buying crypto or trying to pick the next Tesla. I'm talking about simple, boring, long-term investing that actually works. Here's what you do. You take that Roth IRA we talked about earlier and you invest in a low-cost index fund. That index fund is basically a basket of stocks that tracks the overall market. So instead of trying to pick individual winners, you're just buying a little piece of the entire economy. The S&P 500, which is an index of 500 of the biggest companies in America, has averaged about 10% returns per year for the last 50 years. Therefore, if you just consistently invest in the S&P 500 index fund and leave it alone, you're going to build wealth. Let me show you the math one more time because it's so powerful. If you invest $500 a month, starting at age 18 with a 10% average return, by the time you're 60, you will have over $3.5 million. Just $500 a month. But most people don't do this. You know why? Because it's boring. It's not exciting. It's not sexy. They would rather try these get-rich-quick schemes with crypto, meme stocks, and day trading, and 90% of those people lose money. Therefore, if you want to actually build wealth, you need to embrace boring. Boring investing, boring saving, boring living below your means. That is the formula. If you want to live like no one else does, you have to do what no one else will do. When I bought my house at 22, I wasn't doing anything flashy. I was just following these simple, boring principles consistently. Good credit, steady savings, living below my means, simple investing, and it worked. All right, let's recap everything that we just covered. Move number 1, get a credit card the day you turn 18 and build your credit, or better yet, ask a parent to add you as an authorized user before you even turn 18. Move number 2, open your own bank account with no fees. Move number 3, open a Roth IRA and start investing immediately. Move number 4, stay away from consumer debt at all costs. Move number 5, get a job and build real world skills while earning money. Move number 6, live below your means and save aggressively. Move number 7, don't go to college just because everyone else is. Move number 8, invest in boring index funds and let the compound compound interest do the work. If you do these 8 things, I guarantee that you will be ahead of 95% of people your age financially. I bought my first house at 22 because I followed these principles. And the biggest advantage I had was that my mom taught me about credit early on. So if you're a parent watching this, add your kid as an authorized user on your credit card. If you're a teenager watching this, ask your parents to do it. That one move could save you tens of thousands of dollars in the future. But here's the thing, knowing this information isn't enough. You actually have to do something with it. So here's what I want you to do. Pause this video, pick one of these moves, and go do it today. Apply for that credit card, open that bank account, sign up for a Roth IRA, ask your parents about becoming an authorized user, because action beats information every single time. And look, I know that this stuff isn't taught in schools. I know most parents don't teach this stuff. I got lucky that my mom understood the credit game, but this is why I'm trying to share this information with you too, so that you can have the same jumpstart that I did. If you found this video helpful, hit that subscribe button, because I make videos like this all the time, breaking down money, business, and building wealth, and how I became a millionaire by age 28. And make sure you drop a comment down below telling me which move you're going to implement first. I read every single comment. All right, that's it. Now go build your future.